Hello there. Welcome again to an AutoCAD Lazy Learning Show where we teach you AutoCAD with some of the basic concepts so you can understand it as a total beginner, right? So today we're gonna share some of the concepts about fixing AutoCAD blocks. Yes, this is very important because when we draw in AutoCAD, we need to understand how blocks behave inside the AutoCAD program so we can troubleshoot some basic problems regarding to blocks, right? So we're gonna do it in a way that is very basic, very simple, so you can understand again as a total beginner. All right, but before we start, troubleshooting some of the most common AutoCAD problems. We're gonna read some of your comments. Um, Let me ask you, how are you doing today? And by the way, for people who don't know me, my name is Irving, and I do these AutoCAD live shows every Sunday at 10 a.m., and that is Pennsylvania, United States time. So, yeah, that's where I am right now in Pennsylvania. Where are you connecting from? Let me know in the chat. And before we wrap up today's, I mean, not wrap, but before we start today's live stream. We have a couple comments already on the chat, and we have 5 people connected. That's great that you are here with me today. We have uh, Dropout Engineer on the chat saying hello. Hello, sir. Hope you're doing great today, and thank you for being here with us in another live show. So, let me read a couple more of your comments before we start. And we have Michael on the chat says GM Irving. GM. What do you mean by GM? Michael, I'm glad you are here, though you missed our last week live show, but that's okay. You can rewatch it. So thank you for being here. Hope you're doing great today. Georgie Xiomara Araujo is on the chat. Says good morning. Good morning, Xiomara. Thank you for being with us today. We're gonna teach you some of the very basic concepts regarding to AutoCAD blocks in a way that you can understand why we are having certain problems with blocks, right? This is a very important subject because if we want to work efficient in AutoCAD, we should be using blocks, right? So we don't have to redraw um, things, geometries again. So that's a very important topic for today. We have Michael says, good morning, glad to be here. Uh, Gotcha. So GM meant good morning. I didn't know. Sorry, Michael. Uh, yeah, so good morning. Nice to have you also, Michael, with us here on another live show. All right. So, as always, you can interrupt me at any time during my presentation because I want to make this very interactive so we can have a conversation, right? Right. So, before we start with the live show, I just quickly want to thanks my supporters. So I want to say thank you to these folks because they support my work either as a Patreon or as a YouTube member. Thank you very much for believing on what I do, right? Okay, so I think we are ready to start. I think we have one more comment. It's Michael says, my name is Doug. Oh, yeah, sure, I can call you Doug. Hi, Doug. Yeah, that's better. All right, I'll remember that for the next time. Okay, Doug, thank you for letting us everybody know that, right? Okay, so I think we are ready to start. Okay, All right, let me do this. Okay, so one of the most common problems regarding to blocks in AutoCAD, it's the problem with wipeouts. Yes. So for people who are starting to learn AutoCAD again, this is aimed to total beginners, right? To understand some of these problems regarding to blocks and how to fix them or troubleshoot them. So wipeout, to summarize briefly what it is a way to hide or um, mask objects. Like for instance, I have this hatch over here. And instead of trimming or breaking my hatch, I will use a wipeout. For instance, like this block over here that has a wipeout that can hide or mask what is behind, right? So that way I don't waste time trimming or breaking my hatch. Now that's the simplified concept, but what about problems with wipeouts, right? For instance, right here, I can see that the wipeout is showing in front of my tenant sign text. And that's a problem, right? Because we want to see that text, and I only can see it when hover over it. So that's a very common problem, especially if you have other drawings and you try to copy and then paste blocks that contain a wipeout inside another drawing. So let me open this block to kind of explain you why this is happening and how we can prevent this or fix it, right? So let's open this block again with right click and picking block editor. You could also double click on it if the block doesn't contain an attribute. So I'm gonna double click and simply say okay to open the property, the block editor environment. As you can see, my text again is not being seen. So what I need to do, this means is basically that my wipeout, which is right here, for any weird reason jumped to the front of my block and not stayed in the back. So that's sometimes an AutoCAD glitch, usually on versions such as 2014, 2015. I think they fixed already this glitch of wipeouts showing in the front of the block. They fixed it already for versions such as 2016, 2017, and so on. But if you are still using older AutoCAD, you should know this. So over here, what first we need to do to fix this wipeout in front of blocks is, of course, select the wipeout, right? So make sure the wipeout is being selected, and we can send it to the back with the draw order command. So for the draw order, the shortcuts are simply DR, and we can press enter and send or pick the option to back. So once we do that, of course, our block looks how it's supposed to look now with the tenant sign. However, this would be only a temporary fix. We need to do an extra step here. All right. And before I show you that extra step that you need to do to really fix this block and never ever have this problem of the wipeout coming to the front again, let me show you how to do that. But first, we have a comment on the chat, and is Felicia Hernández. Felicia Hernández, buenos días, Leisure Arquitecto. Gracias por transmitir en vivo. Bendiciones. Muchas gracias, Felicia. Buenos días. Espero que estés bien y gracias por unirte a nuestro en vivo. Felicia basically saying, good morning, Leisure Arquitecto. Thank you for your live shows and good luck to everything you do. For people who don't know, I'm originally from Peru in South America, so that's why I also speak Spanish. All right, so let's keep moving. With 5 people connected, that's great that you are still here with me. So the last step that we need to do again to prevent the wipeout showing in front of our blocks in the future is to select our block geometry and deselect the wipeout. All right. So you can see right here, if I select only this geometry, that's the polyline, but the wipeout is behind it, right? Is behind over here. So um, I can deselect holding the shift on my keyboard. You can see I have two geometries. One is the polyline and one is the wipeout. So I can deselect holding the shift and clicking on my polyline. And that way I will only have the wipeout selected, right? So what we want to do is select our block geometry in this case, but the wipeout. So once we do that, we can move our geometry using the regular move command with the shortcut M, and we can move it to a distance of, let's say, a random distance, for instance, 5 feet, 5 feet down. And then you can see our wipeout, it's still there, right? So, but what we need to do is move back our geometry. So move with the shortcut M, enter. In this case, instead of selecting my geometry, I'm going to use a trick to use the P for previous, and I'm going to press enter. And then one more time enter to accept that selection. So I'm going to move it back again 5 feet up, and boom. So this is a trick to make AutoCAD believe that your geometry, in this case our polyline and our text, was created last, right? So that way the wipeout will never jump in front of your blocks. So that's a trick that we need to do if we want to stop this issue in AutoCAD of wipeout showing in front of your blocks. So that's all we need to do. We can close our block and save the changes here, and boom, that way we hopefully will never have ever this AutoCAD block problem again. All right, so that's the first common, very, very common and popular problem regarding to blocks. And we're gonna jump to the number two now. All right. So the number two most common problem regarding to blocks is the idea of why my dashed lines or hidden lines are not showing up, right? For example, in this elevation, I want my signage boundary or this rectangle to show in dashed lines or hidden lines, right? Not continuous like it's showing right now. So, in order to do that, we need to kind of understand how blocks work, right? Because if not, we will keep trying and trying to make these hidden lines, it wouldn't work. For example, because this is a block, it's not a regular polyline, right? So let me troubleshoot that. Again, we want this uh, rectangle or this boundary to show as dashed lines or hidden lines. So, and let me show you, of course, what you probably will do as a total beginner is create a layer, right? So right now we can see this is on a wrong layer. It's on the layer text. So let's fix that, right? So let's open the layer palette by opening um, um, the LA shortcut, and here we have our layer palette. So what probably many, again, people who are learning AutoCAD, they will create a layer, right, with this icon over here, and probably will rename their layer as, something like signage, and of course assign a color, assign, let's say assign this color over here, and change the line type, right, to be instead of continuous, to be something like dash or hidden, right? So let's change it to hidden and click OK. So once this person created the signage with the correct line type hidden in this case. Of course, this beginner person will assign that object, right? That layer, sorry, to that object signage, like so. And as you can see, nothing really happened, right? Why this is not working? Why my boundary is not showing as hidden lines or dash lines? Well, again, we need to troubleshoot and kind of understand this block. And to do so, let's open that up, right? So let me open this block by, again, right click on it, pick block editor, or you can double click on the block itself. So first, the first thing that we need to do is inspect our geometry, right? For instance, I'm going to select uh, my polyline right here, and we can see that the line type is overridden. So it says continuous. So that's wrong, right? This shouldn't say continuous because now it's kind of overridden inside the block. So let's fix that. So instead of saying continuous, let's say by layer, right? So that's one thing that we can do, but look what happened once we close and save the changes for this block, right? Let's close, save the changes to signage, and boom, it's not really working. Why? Well, that's why again we need to start understanding how blocks work. Even though we fixed the line type itself, there are other properties that might be also overridden. So let's inspect those properties, right? So let's open this block again, double clicking on the block, and let's see what's going on here. So again, we're trying to do all of this step by step so you can understand why this problem is happening of the dash lines or hidden lines not showing as it's supposed to be, right? So let's again select, in this case, our geometry, and we can see that the layer that this geometry is assigned is a signage. But wait a second, we just created a new layer, we call it signage, and then we assign it a line type, in this case hidden, right? So why this geometry will have to be on another different layer? That's also wrong. So what we need to do is, whenever we create geometry inside a block, we need to place it on the layer 0. So that is, so if we change our geometry, it will, if we assigned a layer to our entire block, it will um, it will get the properties of that layer. So that's why we need to put it on layer 0. So look what happened now once we close and save the changes. Boom! Now it's working. We successfully troubleshoot this block to show hidden lines on the boundary. So that's why you need to start learning some of these concepts so you can fix your blocks whenever you have these type of problems. Check first if some of the properties are overridden, such as the line type, then go ahead and move also to the layer might be overridden. Make sure it's on layer 0, so that way when you assign or place it on the correct layer, it will also get some of those properties. All right? So hopefully you understood that concept and you can easily fix your blocks whenever you have this problem. So let's move to the third problem with AutoCAD blocks, which is again very, very common. We have 6 people connected live. That's great that you are still here with me, with us. So let's keep moving to the third most common problem with AutoCAD blocks. Again, we're trying to um, teach you some of the basic concepts so you can work with blocks more efficiently. So the third problem is about colors. Yes. So we always try to assign colors or different colors to our blocks to maybe show them darker or lighter, or maybe simply for visual representation, to distinguish them, right, from maybe new to existing. So in any case, we use colors to emphasize changes on our blocks. So let me show you here what happened when, for instance, let's say I want to change the color of one of these blocks. In this case, this is a multi-letter, but there is a block inside this multi-letter, so we can treat this as a block problem too. And let's say this, of course, we can check that's on the A node layer. All of them are A node and so on. So look what happens if I want to emphasize this block and simply change the color of only this individual block, right? I don't want to change my color of the whole A node layer, because if I do that, if I change that to color something like red, everything will change, but I don't want that. So let me undo that with Control Z. I only want to emphasize this specific block. In this case, it's a multi-letter again, but there is a block inside. So look what happens if I try to do that, right? If I go to color on my properties and change it to red. As you can see, something weird is happening here. Only our letter color is changing to red, but not the rest. So what's going on there? Well, first, remember we said that there is a block inside this multi-letter. So we need to reach that block and check some other properties again. So now hopefully you are starting to understand that whenever we have a block problem, the easiest solution is to fix some of their properties, right? So in order to access again the block itself, because right now this is a multi-letter, let me copy one of these with Control C and paste it with Control V, right? I'm gonna paste it over here, like so. So before we continue, we have a comment on the chat, and it's this, by the way, 7. Hey, what's up? He says, if you can give us your real name, that would be awesome, so you can better talk to you. Thank you for being here, and let's keep moving. So again, we have this multi-letter to access the block that it's inside. What we need to do is explode this multi-letter using the X shortcut to access the explode command. And now we can, if we can take a look at it, we can access the block. As you can see from my properties palette, that's the block itself. We can now edit this block. But look what happened when I double click this block, right, to edit it. We will have a attribute editor window, but we don't want this. We want to get inside the block editor itself. So let's cancel that. And to do that, let's right click and pick block editor. So this is when a block has an attribute. The only way to access the block editor is by right clicking on it. So over here, again, if we check some of our properties, so let me select this, right? And if we go to the color option or layer first, we can see that's on layer 0, and that's correct, right? Because we just talked about it, that this should be 100% on layer 0, right? So that's good, but the color also is by layer. So here's a special case when you need to understand when you need to put your objects inside a block on a color by layer, or there is another option also, color by block. So right now you saw that if we picked or if we place our geometry in a color by layer option, we are not able to assign a color to only one of our blocks, right? You just saw that. So that's when we need the second option. The second option is, of course, I'm gonna select everything here, all of my geometry. And instead of color by layer, I'm gonna change this to color by block. All right. So look what happened once I do that. So I'm gonna, of course, close my block editor and I'm gonna save the changes, right? So look what happened now. My blocks over here is showing red as I intended it in the first time. Again, so this color by sorry, yeah, layer by color means that I can easily change many of my blocks individually to colors that I wish, right? In this case, this is an example, but I'm changing individual colors, and you can see that I don't have problems regarding to colors. Again, let me know in the chat what do you think about these very common AutoCAD block problems. I'm very sure that you probably already faced these problems, and hopefully you by now understand some of the concepts and how to fix them or troubleshoot them, right? So before we wrap up today's live stream, let me jump back to the chat and talk to you, and maybe let me know what do you think about these common block problems. Maybe you can give me some recommendation for future videos, or simply just talk about AutoCAD or anything in general, right? Before we wrap up today's live stream. While you do that, while you start write in your comments. So we have Michael on the chat. Also, Michael. Oh, wow, we have 11 people connected. That's great that you are here with me. That means you want to learn AutoCAD. You want to maybe start or find a job regarding to AutoCAD. If that's the case, this is your channel. This is the live show that you need, because we're gonna teach you all of the most important concepts again as a total beginner in this live show, which is about AutoCAD learning show, right? So Douglas says, as always, awesome, Irving. Thank you, Douglas. I'm glad that you took away something from this live stream. And again, this was aimed to total beginners, right? People who are interested to learn this program. Again, maybe start finding a job regarding AutoCAD. For people who don't know, I'm a professional AutoCAD or certified AutoCAD professional. That's my certificate over here. Oops, I don't know if you see them. Let me do this really quick. So it's right here, as you can see it. Some people might not know that, but yes. So I'm certified professional of AutoCAD, and I also work in an architecture firm. Right, I've been working there for many years already, so I'm happy to share a little bit of my knowledge here. um, so Michael is saying, Irving, I'm going to send you an email later. I'm having an issue with my plot styles. Sure, Michael. You can email me your questions again to all of my information is on my YouTube channel page. But if you don't know, it's Irving at lazyarquitecto.com. So that's my email if you have questions or suggestions for our show. All right. So let me know in the chat before we wrap up, what do you think about today's live stream? Was that helpful? Should I start doing more of these basic concepts regarding AutoCAD? Should I do more advanced stuff like creating dynamic blocks, custom commands, or customizing AutoCAD in general? Again, so I'm trying to show up here each Sunday with a new AutoCAD live stream. And we have another comment on the chat. Is Michael says, more advanced. Sure, Michael. So I don't know if you know, but we have a show called the Lazy Block live show where we create advanced dynamic blocks and so on. So maybe that's why you need to check Duke. Sorry, Duke. You told me to refer you as Duke. Yeah, I just remember that. But Michael, so you can see over here on our channel. I think you can see, right? Yeah, so you can. So we have many different live shows, and this is the lazy command where we create advanced custom commands using macros, right? So that way we can specifically address some of the um, points where you are wasting time, right? For instance, cop like hatching. Some people start hatching individual items, so don't ever do that. We created a command to hatch multiple areas at once and so on. We also have advanced live shows here for dynamic blocks where we create all of these custom blocks that can save you time for your drawings. But today we are doing this lazy learning show, again, sharing some of the basic concepts regarding AutoCAD. So thank you for your opinion, Michael. We have 11 people on the show. That's great. Um, so Michael says, already a member. Thanks. Oh, Michael, yeah, you're a member of the show. Thank you very much for supporting our work. I think you are a member on Patreon as well as a YouTube member. So that's awesome that you believe on what I do, right? On our work, on our way to help people uh, with our goal of stop or helping them stop wasting time, right? Because if you are working in AutoCAD, you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again. I'm sure there is a more efficient way to do whatever you're doing. So just let us know. Um, Michael says, worth every penny. Thank you, Michael. By the way, people who don't know, they can access all of my dynamic blocks, all of my custom commands, like by being a patron or YouTube member. Again, all we have so many blogs that we have created, title blogs, doors, tags, and everything. So you can access all of them on our Patreon page or also on here on YouTube as a YouTube member. All right, I think guys, I'm about to wrap up with 15 people connected. That's awesome. So hopefully you can also meet us next Sunday, right? Next Sunday at 10 a.m. That is Pennsylvania, United States time. So hopefully I can see you there. All right. Thank you.